Assalamu alaikum everyone. How are you guys doing? Good to hear that. Okay, so let's start, shall we? If you remember the last time I was streaming coordinate geometry, uh, I got disconnected because of internet issues. So we solved a couple of past paper questions, but not as many as I would have liked. So that's what we're gonna do today. We will be solving lots and lots of past paper questions, inshallah. Okay, so the stream will be around 2 hours max. Okay. And before we start, those of you who are watching, I would really appreciate if you would like the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Okay, so this document, I've shared this with you guys already. Okay, you can download it from the link in description. Let me just make sure if I have shared this with you guys or not. Circular measure, circular measure, circular measure. Do you want me to do circular measure? So, what would you recommend advanced paper attempting pattern? As I often give too much time to questions and I get less time to the rest of the papers, especially the newer papers. Okay, so the best thing you can do is when you're starting the paper, just highlight the questions that you know for sure that you will be able to solve. Okay, so that once you're through those questions, you can spend the rest of the time on the other questions. Okay, that is the one thing that always works. Sir, when will you stream S1 geometric distribution? I have a video on geometric distribution, by the way. I made a video. I think I've covered everything in geometric progression in detail, but I will stream it. Okay. This topic has been recently added. I think it was added in 2020. Yeah. So let's see. I'll stream it soon. Okay. All right. So I have color coded the difficulty level of the questions. The ones you will find highlighted in green are easy, and then yellow is medium, orange is hard, while red is insanely difficult. Okay, so we did a few easy and easy, medium, and hard questions, and now we will try and do a mix and match of both easy, difficult, and insanely difficult questions. Okay, so there was one question. Yeah, we couldn't complete this question, so we found out the value of h. What was it? It was 2, and we had to find out the value of k. In fact, you know what? I'll leave this question because we'll have to start from scratch. Let's solve this question. This is from May June 2018, paper 1, variant 1. Okay, May June 2018, paper 1, variant 1. Question number 5. So let's see what this question says. And because I've highlighted this red, that means it's a pretty difficult question. Okay, so this question says the diagram shows kite OABC in which AC is the line of symmetry. Okay, so the concept of symmetry will haunt you everywhere. Okay, it will follow you everywhere, all the way to A-level math. So then it says the coordinates of A and C are 0, 4, and 8, 0 respectively, and O is the origin. Find the equation AC and OP. Okay, AC and OP. So AC is something we can find the equation of very easily. Okay, it's the line that I'm drawing in blue. So first thing we want to do is we want to find out the gradient, which we can by simply doing 4 minus 0 over 0 minus 8, which means 4 upon minus 8, which is equal to minus 1 upon 2. So after the gradient, we need a point through which the line is passing. So we can use A, which is 0, comma 4. Now let's put this all together, see what do we get. So y minus 4 is equals to minus 1 upon 2 into x minus 0. So that means y is equals to minus 1 upon 2x plus 4 is the equation of line AC. Okay. Now, how will I find out the equation of line AB? That's a question for you guys. How will I find out the OB, sorry, equation of line OB, which is right here? Keeping in mind that it's a kite. Okay. So there are some properties of kite that you should know. Do you expect these October? I don't know. I don't know whether it will be more difficult or less difficult. I'm in no position of saying that. Okay. And if anyone tells you what the exam will be like, don't buy it. Okay. Don't take their word for it. Just do rely on your own preparation. Okay. All right. So because it's a kite, let's get back. So because it's a kite, that means this line OB, the diagonals of a kite, remember, are perpendicular. Okay. So I'll write that down over here. Note, and the note is the diagonals of a kite are perpendicular. Okay. And how do I know that? Let's say you didn't know this property. Okay. Now because this is a line of symmetry, that means the perpendicular distance of this point and this point will be the same. Okay. Why? Because the line AC is the line of symmetry. That means if you reflect B, you end up at O. Okay. And what distance are we talking about? We're talking about the perpendicular distance. Okay. So that means we have enough information now. Why? Because we can find out the gradient of line OB. All we have to do is take the negative reciprocal of minus 1 upon 2, which will be 2. Okay, and we need a point through which line OB is passing. We don't have the coordinates of B, but we do have the coordinates of O, and there's 0, 0. So just put this all together. Y minus 0 is equals to 2 into x minus 0. I know this was not necessary. You could have just done it directly. So y is equals to 2x is what we end up with. Okay, so there you go. That's the answer to part 1. Now you may be thinking that this was not so difficult. Okay, and you're right. Part 2, however, is slightly difficult. In part 2, you're supposed to find out the coordinates of B. Okay, so just a minute. Let me take this to the next page. In fact, let me take a screenshot. Just a minute. Okay, while I'm doing this, any idea how we're going to find out the coordinates? Whoops. How we're going to find out the coordinates of B? Can you do a live stream about sketching function? Okay, let's see. But let's focus on what we're doing right now. So how are we going to find out the coordinates of B? Okay, let's focus on that right now. So if you think about it, because this line AC is symmetrical, okay, because line AC is symmetrical, what we need to do is we need to use the concept is the line of symmetry. We need to use the concept of midpoint. Okay, so if somehow I am able to find out this point right here, okay, then what I can do is I can use the concept of midpoint to find out the coordinates of P. I hope everyone is understanding what I'm saying. If somehow I am able to find out the coordinates of the point of intersection of the two lines, then what I can do is I can use the concept of midpoint to find out the coordinates of P. Okay, so pay close attention to what I'm saying. Point M is basically the midpoint of O and B. Okay, now the question is, how will I find out the point M? Okay, the question is, how will I find out the point M? Now, the question is very nice in the sense that it has already made you find out all the necessary information for you to be able to do that. Okay, so if you want to find out the coordinates of point M, you need to solve the equation AC and OB simultaneously. Okay, and that doesn't mean that you need to do a lot of work. Okay, they're fairly easy equations. Y equals to minus 1 upon 2x plus 4 is the equation of line AC. And then what is the equation of line OB? That's y is equals to 2x. So solving these two simultaneously, you can use the concept of substitution. So 2x is equals to minus 1 upon 2x plus 4. Okay, so 2 plus half is 5 upon 2, which is 2.5. 5 upon 2x is equals to 4. So x is equals to 8 upon 5. Now if x is equals to 8 upon 5, can we find out the y coordinate of the point of intersection? Yes, we can. All we have to do is plug in 8 upon 5 in place of x. So 2 into 8 is 16. 16 divided by 5, which is, well, let's just write it as 16 upon 5. Or if you want, you can write it as decimal as well. 8.2 or this can be written as 8 divided by 5, which is 1.6. Now, the thing is, here's what we have done so far. We have found the coordinates of m, 1.6, and 8.2. Okay. We know the coordinates of the origin, 0, 0. All we have to do now is find out the coordinates of b. Okay. So how can I do that? Here's what I will do. 0 plus x upon 2 will give you the x coordinate of the midpoint, which is 1.6. And 0 plus y upon 2 will give you the y coordinate of the midpoint, which is 8.2. Cross multiply and you will have x, which is 3.2, and cross multiply here, you will have the value of y, which is 8.2 times 2. What is that equal to? That's equal to 16.4, is it? Let me see. Sorry, 16 upon 5 is not 8.2. Sorry, my bad. It's 3.2. Yeah. So 3.2 times 2 is equal to 6.4. And there you go. We have the coordinates of b, 3.2, comma 6.4. And that's it. That's your answer. Now, there is another way to it. Okay, there is another way to it. And I will solve it using that method. So, basically, this is what we ended up with. Okay, now I hope this is clear to everyone. Okay. Now, the other way to solving this question would be, since we know the equation of this line is y is equals to 2x, okay, that means the coordinates of point B will basically be x comma 2x, okay. If B is x, then y would be 2x because that is what y is equal to. That means what I can do is this. I can find out the gradient of OB and equate it to 2. Okay, and what will I use as coordinates of O, 0, 0, and what will I use as coordinates of B? X comma 2x. Okay, so you can use this as well, which will lead to the conclusion as 2x minus 0 over x minus 0 is equals to 2x. Sorry, is equals to 2. Actually, no, on the second thought, no, you can't, because this won't give you the value of x. Okay, never mind. No, you can't do that. Okay, let me see if there is any other way to it. Let me think about it. You can actually, but that would make it very lengthy. Okay, so never mind what I said. Just stick to the method that I just used. Just realize that doesn't work. Okay, now that was one question. Let's move on and do some more questions. Okay, so do you guys want to solve a difficult question or do you want to solve a relatively easy question? Yeah, you could do that. You could solve it simultaneously as well to find out the point of intersection, but you don't have... No, you can't do that. We already did that. Okay. Add math, inshallah, on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday I'm streaming something to do with trigonometry, so you can tune in then. Okay, so let me think of a question. Difficult question? Alright, so let's do this question. So this is from May-June 2017, paper 1, variant 3. May-June 2017, paper 1, variant 3. And question number 8 of the paper. Okay, so it says here, A is minus 1 comma 1, okay, and B is A comma B are 2 points where A and B are constants. The gradient of AP is 2. Find an expression for B in terms of A. Alright, find an expression for B in terms of A. So basically we need to find out the gradient using the coordinates of A and B and equate it to 2. That's it. It's a fairly easy question. So B minus 1 will be your y2 minus y1 over A minus minus 1, which is equal to what? Which is equal to 2. Now B minus 1 over A plus 1 is equals to 2, which means B minus 1 is equals to 2a plus 2, and we have to find an expression for B in terms of A. That means we need to make B the subject. So B is equals to 2a plus 3. Okay, so that's the answer to the first part. M1 videos of kinematics for October, November. I'm not sure if I will have enough time to do that because I think your paper is I think on the 11th of October. Again, I'm not too sure. But for May, June, yeah, for sure. May, June, yes. Okay, so that was the first part, fairly easy. Now here comes the difficult part. Okay, this is a 2-mark question. Sorry, this is part 2, which is a 6-mark question. Okay, let's see what this says. B has coordinates 10 comma minus 1. It is the third point such that AP is equals to AB. Calculate the coordinates of the possible positions of P. Okay, so possible positions of P, that means we're likely to end up with multiple answers. Okay, so first of all, let's write down all the information. Okay, so always scan for how much space you're given so that you can decide of how freely you can solve the question. Okay, so first just try and be a couple of steps ahead. So if you don't have a lot of space, that means you have to be efficient with your working. If you do, then you can you don't have to be that efficient. So the coordinates of A were basically minus 1 comma 1. Okay, the coordinates of P were although A comma B, but now that we know what B is 2A plus 3. Okay, so I'm going to replace B with 2A plus 3. And as far as the coordinates of B are concerned, they are 10 comma minus 1. Now according to the question, AP is equals to AB. Okay, now at this point it is advisable that you see what it is or where exactly you're heading. Okay, don't just brainlessly start solving it, but see where exactly you're heading. Okay, so AP is distance between these 2 points and AB will be distance between these 2 points. Okay, so that means you need to equate the distance. When you equate the distance, and what is the formula for distance? It's x2 minus x1 the whole thing square plus y2 minus y1 the whole thing square. Okay, when you do that, when you equate the distance, that means you will likely end up with a quadratic equation. And because you will end up with a quadratic equation, and because a quadratic equation has multiple solutions, that is why I notice that the question here is saying to find out the possible positions of P. Okay, so just practice doing this before you solve a question. Okay, so that you know what to expect. All right. Can you explain part A again? Yes. So find out the gradient of AP, equate it to 2 because you're given what the gradient is, and that's it. Cross multiply, make B the subject, you will have your answer. Okay, now, so let's find out AP. AP will be equal to square root of A minus minus 1 the whole thing square plus 2A plus 3 minus 1 the whole thing square. Okay. And then let's find out AB. So we can get a value for AB, which will come in handy. We'll do 10 minus minus 1 the whole thing square plus minus 1 minus 1 the whole thing square. Okay, let me make sure that I've done everything correctly. Yep, so far so good. So AB is equals to square root of 10 minus minus 1, which is 11 squared, minus 1 is minus 2. So I'll just write down 4. Okay, so let's see what do we have. 121 plus 4 is 125. So AB is equals to square root of 125. Okay, now, because both the distances are equal, that is what you're going to do. You're going to equate the two distances, and you can see that we're heading towards a quadratic equation, and you will solve the quadratic equation to find out the values of A. So this becomes A plus 1 the whole thing square, and simplify this as well. This becomes 2A plus 2 the whole thing square inside the square root, which is AP. Okay, now, so A plus 1 the whole thing squared plus 2A plus 2 the whole thing squared inside the square root is equal to square root of 125. Now, immediately the next thing to do is to cancel out the square root. Okay, because you have square root on both sides, you can cancel it out, and this is what you're dealing with now. Okay, so A plus 1 the whole thing squared, use the identity to expand this. A square plus 2A plus 1 plus 4A square plus 2 into 2 into 2, that's going to be 4 times 2, which is 8A. So plus 8A plus 4, which is equal to 125. Okay, so simplify this. Let's see what we end up with. So we end up with 5A square plus 10A. 1 plus 4 is 5. And from it, if you subtract 125, what do we end up with? We end up with minus 120 equals to 0. So take 5 common to make your life easy. So A square plus 2A minus 120 divided by 5 gives us 24 equals to 0. Solve this quadratic equation, and when you do that, when you solve this quadratic equation, you will end up with two values of A, and you will solve this quadratic equation through middle term breaking. A square plus 6A minus 4A minus 24 equals to 0. Again, everyone should know how to solve quadratic equations using middle term breaking. This is what you end up with. And then when you solve this, you get two values of a. I'll continue from here. A minus 4 into a plus 6 equals to 0, which means a is equals to 4 or a is equals to minus 6. Okay. Now, that's not it. That's not the end of the question because you still have to find out the value of b. Now, what is b equal to? If you remember, b was equal to 2a plus 3. Okay, so b is equals to 2a plus 3. Now, since you've gotten two values of a, that means you will get two values of b as well. Okay, so plug the values of a one by one and see what you get. So plug in 4 and plug in minus 6. If you plug in 4, 2 into 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. If you plug in minus 6, 2 into minus 6 is minus 12. Minus 12 plus 3 will be minus 9. And now you know that the coordinates of p are 4, comma 11 or p is equals to minus 6, comma minus 9. So although this was a 6-mark question, but it's not that difficult. No? What are your thoughts on it? Okay, before we decide the next before we start solving the next question, let me know what your thoughts are on this question. Okay. Should we solve another insanely difficult question or should we go easy this time? Pretty easy? Okay. All right, let's solve these questions. Questions like these are my favorite because there's a lot of working involved. And there's a lot of planning involved in questions like these as well. Okay, so again, my advice is don't just brainlessly start solving these questions. Plan your answer. Now read the question and tell me how will we solve this. Don't give me the answer, but tell me. So can we not directly solve the equation? Yeah, you can do that, but just make sure you show some working, okay? Make sure that you show some level of working, just so that the examiner doesn't cut your marks, okay? But do use your calculator to check your answer, okay? Always use your calculator to check your answer. Gradient of parallel sides will be equal. Okay, I agree. What else? Find gradient and midpoint. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Let's read the question, see what's what. So first of all, what shape are we dealing with? We're dealing with a rectangle. Okay, don't forget that. We're dealing with a rectangle, which means opposite sides will have the same gradient. They will be equal in length and all the other properties of rectangle. Okay, so don't forget that. Okay, then what are we going to do next? Then it says the diagonal AC has equation. So we know the equation of the diagonal. That means using this equation, we can find out the gradient. And I'm going to do that in a minute. Okay. Find by calculation the coordinates of C and the coordinates of D. Okay. Now, coordinates of C and the coordinates of D. So first of all, let's start with the coordinates of C. Okay. Now, if you think about it, at point C, you have two lines intersecting. You have line AC and you have the line BC. Okay, so that means if I'm able to find out the equations of these two lines and if I'm able to solve them simultaneously, I should get the coordinates of C. Okay, I hope we can all agree on this, that if somehow I find out the equation of line AC and if somehow, well, actually we don't have to worry about finding the equation of line AC, we already have that. But if somehow we're able to find out the equation of line BC, we can solve it simultaneously with AC and find out the point of intersection. Okay, So once you've done this, you will have a direction. You will know what it is that you need to do next. Okay, so that means now I know that I need to focus on somehow getting the equation of line BC. Okay, now because there's a right angle over here, that means if I find out the gradient of line AB, which I can very easily by simply doing 8 minus 0 over 0 minus 4, so we get 8 upon minus 4, which is equal to minus 2. Now I can use this gradient because line BC is perpendicular to line AB. I can use this gradient to find out the gradient of line BC, which is going to be 1 upon 2. Now, do I have a point which I can use to form an equation? Yes, I do. Okay. So y minus 0 over 1 upon 2 into x minus 4. Let's solve this simultaneously. So we have 2y is equals to, let's not solve this simultaneously. Let's simplify this. So we have 2y is equals to x minus 4. Okay. So we have the equation of line BC. Okay. Now, do we have the equation of line AC? Yes, the question has been kind enough to give us the equation, which is 8y plus x equals to 64. So this is the equation of line AC. Now, solving these two simultaneously will do the job. Okay. So we will solve simultaneously for C. Okay. So if you want to solve this simultaneously, you have a lot of options actually. I can make x the subject over here, which is going to be 64 minus 8y, and then I can plug it in the first equation. So 2y as it is equals to 64 minus 8y minus 4. So that means 10y is equals to 60, which means y is equals to 6. Once you have the y coordinate, you can find out the x coordinate very easily. 64 minus 8y, which means 8 into 6. So x is equals to 64 minus 8 into 6. So that's 64 minus 48, which is 16. And now we have the coordinates of C, and they are 16 comma 6. So that's the answer to coordinates of C. Okay. Now, how will I find out the coordinates of D? Any idea how to find out the coordinates of D? Let me write this down. 16 comma 6. Yeah, 16 comma 6. Now, what should I do in order to find out the coordinates of D? Let's plan our answer before we solve it. Use gradient of BC and add it like a column vector. Okay, we can use the concept of vectors. Yes. Okay, but let me tell you something. This question is fairly old, and the concept vectors was still relevant. Vectors was still part of the syllabus. Okay. But now you will notice that most of the time the question will say by calculation. That means you can't use vector. Okay. So let's try and avoid using vectors over here. Okay. Solve AD and CD simultaneously. Yes, we could do that. We could solve AD and CD simultaneously. That's a good idea. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So that means we need to find out the equation of AD. All right. So let's do that. Let's focus on finding out the equation of AD. Now what I'll do is I'll bring this over here so I have some space. Okay. So as far as AD is concerned, what will be the gradient of line AD? It's going to be the same as the gradient of line BC. Okay, m is equals to half. So m is half, and what are the coordinates? The coordinates through which it's passing are 0, 8. Okay, so can we form an equation? Yes, we can. In fact, we can do it instantly because we know what the y-intercept is. So this is one equation, and this is basically the equation of line AD. Okay, now let's focus on CD. Can we form the equation of line CD? Yes, we can. Do we have the gradient? Yes, it's going to be the same as the gradient of line AB. That means it's going to be minus 2. So the gradient is minus 2. We need a point through which the line is passing. The question thankfully made us find that out. Now we need to solve it simultaneously. So y minus 16 equals to x. Y minus 6 equals to x minus 16. Y minus 6 is equals to minus 2x plus 32, which means y is equals to minus 2x plus 38. This is your second equation. Now solve these two equations simultaneously to find out CD. Okay, so they're both equal to y, that means we can equate them. So half x plus 8 equals minus 2x plus 38. Let's get all the terms on the left hand side. So we have 2 plus half, which is going to be 5 upon 2. X equals to 38 minus 8, which is equal to 30. Now cross multiply 30 times 2 divided by 5. So that means x equals to what? X is equals to 2. And now in order to find out the value of y, all you got to do is pick one equation and in it plug in the value of x. So let's say we pick this equation, y is equals to half x plus 8. So y is equals to 1 upon 2 into 2 plus 8. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 8 plus 1 is equals to 9. And now we have the coordinates and they are, wait a minute, I've done something wrong. Oh, this was 12, sorry, not 2, this was 12. Okay. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, 6 plus 8 is 14. Yeah, that makes more sense. So y is equals to 14. And now you can write your final answer nicely, which is 12 comma 14. Okay. So questions like these, they look intimidating. Okay. But if you break it down and if you plan your answer, they're not actually that difficult. Okay. So thoughts about this question? I've just realized the camera angle is slightly awkward. Let me fix it. Just a minute. Okay, I hope it's better now. Simple? All right, glad to hear that. Okay, let's pick another question. Let's solve this question here. This is a 9-mark question, which does not necessarily mean that all of it is going to be difficult. Yes, you might have some difficult parts here or there. Okay. So this question says the diagram ABCD shows a parallelogram in which the equation of AB is y is equals to 3x and the equation of AD is 4y is equals to x plus 11. The diagonals AC and BD meet at the point E, 6.5, 8.5. Find by calculation the coordinates of A, B, C, and D. Okay, so there's a whole lot of working over here that we need to do in order to find out these 4 coordinates. Okay. Now, as far as finding out the coordinates of A is concerned, that's a no-brainer. Anyone who'd like to tell me how to find out the coordinates of A? Yep, that's it. We will solve simultaneously equation of line AB and line AD. Okay, because A is a point where the two lines are intersecting. So 4y is equals to x plus 11 and y is equals to 3x. We will solve them simultaneously and that will give us the point of intersection. Okay, so 4 into 3x equals to x plus 11. Now we have 12x equals to x plus 11. X is equals to 11x equals to 11, which means x is equals to 1. And now that you have the value of x, you can find out the value of y using y equals to 3x, which means y is equals to 3. And straight away, you have the coordinates of A, and they are 1, comma 3. Okay? Now, let's see what we can do next. Next is that we need to find out the coordinates of B. Okay. How can we find out the coordinates of B? Let's see what piece of information we can use over here. B is, now what shape are we talking about here? We're talking about a parallelogram. Okay, so in a parallelogram, remember, the diagonals are not perpendicular, but the diagonals intersect at midpoint. Okay, and you know what? Now that we have the coordinates of A, we can actually use the coordinates of A and find out the coordinates of C. So we don't have to do it in the same order, okay? We need to find out the coordinates of A, B, C, and D, but we don't have to do it in the same order. So 1, 3 are the coordinates of A. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out the coordinates of C first, okay? Now how can I do that? How can I find out the coordinates of C? Let me show you. The way that you can find out the coordinates of C is this. Remember, in a parallelogram, the diagonals intersect at midpoint, okay? So the midpoint of A and C is E. Okay, so let's write that down. E is the midpoint of A and C. Okay, so what are the coordinates of E? 6.5, 8.5. What are the coordinates of A? The coordinates of A are 1, 3. And what are the coordinates of C? We don't know, so let's just write it as xy. Okay. So finding out the midpoint of A and C, that means x plus 1 upon 2, which will be equal to 6.5, and y plus 3 upon 2, which will be equal to 8.5. Okay, cross multiply, and let's see what happens. 6.5 into 2 minus 1, so that means x equals to 12. 8.5 times 2 minus 3, so that means y is equals to 14. And then write your answer nicely. C has coordinates 12, 14. And there you go. That is the answer to the coordinates of C. Okay. So that means 2 down, and how many more to go? Still 2 more to go. Now, any idea how we're going to find out the coordinates of B now that we have the coordinates of C? Okay, so think about it. BA simultaneous, okay. But I'm talking about the coordinates of B. Okay, what if we didn't want to use vectors? We can use vectors, that's correct. But what if, let's say, we didn't want to use vectors? What is the algebraic way of solving it? Using parallel lines, same gradient, AD and BC, find B, and then E is the midpoint of BD. Yeah, that is correct. So because line AD and BC will be parallel, that means whatever is the gradient of line AD, that will be the same as the gradient of line BC. Okay, but before I can find out the gradient of line AD, I need to make y the subject. Okay, so let's do that. So AD, the equation of line AD is 4y is equals to x plus 11. If you make y the subject, you have 1 upon 4x plus 11 upon 4. 11 upon 4 is irrelevant. What we are interested in is the gradient. So the gradient of this line is 1 upon 4, and we needed a point, so we can use it to form an equation, and we have that. So we have the point as well. The coordinates are 12, 14. So let's write that down, 12, 14. Now let's put this all together. Y minus 14 is equals to 1 upon 4 into x minus 12. Cross multiply. So you will have, I'll continue from here, 4y minus 14 into 4, that's 56, equals to x minus 12. Okay. So 4y is equals to x, and what is minus 12 plus 56? That's 44. So plus 44. Here is one equation, and we will use this equation with the equation of y equals to 3x, which is line AB, and solve it simultaneously. Okay, now why will solving this simultaneously give us our answer? Pay attention, because this is the equation of line BC. If I'm not wrong, yeah, this is the equation of line BC, and this is the equation of line AB. Notice that they have a common point, and that is the point where they're intersecting, which means solving them simultaneously will give us the answer. Thank you, Adil. So y equals to 3x, you can plug it in over here. 4 into 3x, which is equal to x plus 44. That means 12x equals to x plus 44. If you solve this, you can do it directly. That's x equals to 4. And now that you have the value of x, use y equals to 3x, plug in 4, so y is equals to 12, and now you have the coordinates of B, and they are 4, 12. Okay, now things have gotten a little messy, so what I'll do is, I'll drag this down over here, so that all the work is in one place. Okay, now let's find out the coordinates of D. And do we have enough information to do that? Yes, we do. Because what will be the midpoint of AB? What will be the midpoint of BD? That will be E. Okay, so let's write that down. E is the midpoint of B and D. Okay, E is the midpoint of B and D. We have the coordinates of B, and they are 4, 12. Okay, we don't have the coordinates of D, they are x, y, but we have the coordinates of the midpoint. Okay, so let's write this information down. E is 6.5, 8.5. The coordinates of B we just found out, 4, 12, and the coordinates of D we don't know, so let's call them x, y. Okay. No, equation of circles is not included. Okay, equation of circles, I'll have a separate stream for that. So x plus 4 upon 2 is equals to 6.5. Y plus 12 upon 2 is equals to 8.5. Okay, I'll do that later on. But if you want, I have done a stream on equation of circles. In fact, I've solved nearly all past paper questions there are. So you can check out my previous stream. I did one last year. You will find all questions. So there you go. You have the coordinates of D and they are 9, 5. Let's see if that is the correct answer. Yep, that is the correct answer. Okay, so thoughts about this question? Easy, difficult, hard? What would you guys say? You think this question is insanely difficult, or you think it's slightly easier? You think I might have exaggerated a bit? Okay, that's nice. That's nice if you guys find this easy. Enjoyable, okay, that's a first. Not hard, but not easy. Alright. Let's do this question. So, this is also a past paper question. Let's see what it says. Thank you, Abdullah. Appreciate it. So it says here the diagram shows a trapezium ABCD in which AB is parallel to DC. Do O-level revision for those doing O-level this year. Yeah, so plenty of O-level streams lined up as well. Don't worry about it. But closer to the exams. Although I will be streaming some content for October, November students. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I think I'm doing an O-level stream, yes. You can find it on my Instagram. I announce these streams on my Instagram, so you can find out there. Okay. So it says here AB is parallel to DC. Okay, AB is parallel to DC. And what reminds us, what does the word parallel reminds us of? It reminds us of same gradient. Okay. And angle BAD is 90 degrees. That means it's perpendicular. And what does that remind us of? That reminds us of negative reciprocal of the gradient. The coordinates of A, B, and C are so and so respectively. Find the equation of ED. Okay. So if I want to find out the equation of line AD, that means I need to find out the gradient of ED. But I can't do that directly, so I will have to first find out the gradient of AB and then take the negative reciprocal of it. Why? Because line AD is perpendicular to it. Okay. So let's write the information down. We're doing part 1 now. A has coordinates 2, 6. B has coordinates 5, -3. Okay, so we're finding out the gradient of line AB, which keep in mind is going to be a negative gradient. So -3 -6 over 5 -2. So -3 -6 is -9. 5 -2 is 3. So that's -3. Now what will be the gradient of line AD? That is going to be 1/3. And we need a point through which the line is passing. Do we have that? Yes, we do. So let's put this together. Y minus 6 is equals to 1/3 into x minus 2. Cross multiply. So 3y minus 6 times 3, which is 18, is equals to x minus 2. Write this nicely. 3y is equals to x minus 2 plus 16. Minus 2 plus 18 is plus 16. There you go. So that is the answer to part 1. Now, any idea how we're going to find out the coordinates of AD? Put some thought into it. Ryan, I am using iPad Pro, but I will not recommend it as a student. As a student, you can buy any entry level iPad as long as it supports Apple Pencil. Okay, you don't have to spend a lot of money. All right, so part 2. Part 2 says find by calculation the coordinates of D. Okay, so D is a point where you can see that line AD and CD are intersecting. Okay, so that means you can find out the equation of line AB, and you can find out the equation of, you can find out the equation of line AD, which we have already. It's 3y is equals to x plus 16. You will have to find out the equation of line CD and then solve it simultaneously. Okay, so do this planning before you start solving or before you start your working. Okay, it's very important. It will give you a direction. So we know what the gradient of line CD will be. It will be the same as the gradient of line AB. That means the gradient of line CD will be minus 3. And we need a point through which the line is passing, and we have that. We have that in the shape of C, which is 8 comma minus 3. Is it minus 3? No, sorry, it's plus 3. Okay, so let's put this together. Y minus 3 is equals to minus 3 into x minus 8. So y is equals to minus 3x plus 24 plus 3. So y is equals to minus 3x plus 27. So this is equation number 2. This is equation number 1. Let's solve them simultaneously, and that should give us the answer. So 3 into minus 3x plus 27, so that's 3y, equals x plus 16. So minus 9x plus, what is 27 times 3? Let's work that out. That's 81 equals to x plus 16. So minus 10x equals to 16 minus 81, that is minus 65. So negative negative cancels out, and x is equals to what? X is equals to 6.5. Let me double check. Just a minute. Yeah, x is equals to 6.5. Now in order to find out the value of y, let's use this equation, minus 3x plus 27. So y is equals to minus 3 into 6.5 plus 27. So we're looking at 7.5. And then in the end, write your answer nicely, which is 6.5 comma 7.5. And there you go, fellas. That's the answer. IGCSE. Noor, I am doing an IGCSE / O-level stream tomorrow. Okay. So tune into that. Walaikum salam, Amar. Okay, so that was part 2. Now let's do part 3. Part 3 says find the length of BE. And before that, it says the point E is such that ABCE is a parallelogram. Okay, now let's imagine a parallelogram. Let's imagine this shape being a parallelogram. Okay, so what will it look like if this was a parallelogram? And parallelogram is ABCE. Okay, so here is B, C. If this is to be a parallelogram, that means E has to be somewhere over here. Okay, E can only be somewhere over here for this to be a parallelogram. Now this is not drawn to scale, but this is what we can tell so far. And what do we need to find out? We need to find out the length of BE. Okay. So because it's a parallelogram, in a parallelogram the diagonals are not equal. Okay. So that means we need to first find out the coordinates of E, and then we need to find out the distance. Okay. So how can I find out the coordinates of E? Remember, because it's a parallelogram, the properties that diagonals of a parallelogram, not just a parallelogram, of a square, rhombus, rectangle, they intersect at midpoint. Okay. So let's find out the midpoint of AC, which will be the same as the midpoint of BE. Okay. So if I want to find out the midpoint of AC, that would be 8 plus 2 upon 2, comma 3 or 3 plus 6 upon 2. So 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 upon 2 is 5, and 3 plus 6 is 9, 9 upon 2 is 4.5. So these are your coordinates of midpoint. Now you might think that we need to use this midpoint to find the coordinates of E and then find the distance, but you don't need to do that. Why? Because since M is the midpoint, that means the distance from B to M will be the same as the distance from M to E, Or you can use this statement and say that the distance from B to E will actually be twice of the distance of from B to M. Okay, so I'll repeat what I said. BE, first of all, BM and ME will be the same distance, okay, because M is the midpoint. That means if somehow we can find out the distance of BM, all we have to do is double it to find out the distance BE, okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. I will just find out the distance BM and then double it to find out the distance of BE. So BM can be found like this. So take the square root of, what are the coordinates of B? They're right here. So 5 minus 5 the whole thing square plus, then what's the y coordinate of B? That's minus 3 minus 4.5 the whole thing square. Okay, so let's see what do we get. So minus 3 minus 4.5, square it, and then take the square root of it, so you get 7.5. Now if you want to find out BE, all you have to do is double it. 2 into 7.5, so that means the distance BE is equals to 15. And that is your final answer. Okay, now I'll keep it till here only, okay, and I just realized that I didn't, okay, no I did. I thought I didn't color code this question, but yeah, I did. So let's keep it till here only. I will encourage you guys to attempt the remaining questions. I've solved most of the difficult questions, okay. The other questions you will find they're not that difficult, but if you want to practice this topic, make sure that you attempt it, okay. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys inshallah in the next stream. So take care everyone. Allah Hafiz.